I'm Betty Hogue. I'm the director of the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center located here in Charlottesville. We have a mission to enhance the vitality of the local economy by providing effective, client-oriented business counseling, training, and access to informational resources. All of our services are free to businesses in the area. We do have a table set up in the back with additional information about us and about our services, including a brochure that gives you a lot more detail about the kinds of things that we do. I think we're fortunate today to have this event that is being jointly sponsored by the Central Virginia SBDC, PJ Networks, and First Citizens Bank. Phil Jadaberg from PJ Networks is going to be doing a presentation. And after that, we will have a roundtable discussion. Susan McGinnis is here representing First Citizens Bank, and along with her is Kelly Dye, back in the back. And so please, if you get a chance, thank those other sponsors for helping bring this information to you today. As we all know, I think cybersecurity is a really hot issue today. We're hearing things on the news all the time, particularly with the federal government, and many of the federal agencies are developing additional guidelines and restrictions on how they deal with cyber issues. Along with that, increasing the awareness related to cybersecurity in small businesses is the latest specialty initiative of the SBDCs in the state of Virginia, and Phil will be talking about a few of those. Today's event really focuses on the basics. Again, making sure that you have an awareness of those areas where your organization could be at risk, and giving you some tools to at least start doing some things in your organization as early as this afternoon with some tools that we will provide for you. We do have plans for more of these events. Specifically, in July, on the 11th, we will be doing another version of this. The roundtable for that particular event will focus more on cybersecurity in healthcare organizations with some special information about the HIPAA regulations, which are specific to healthcare, but they have a lot of good information that other organizations can draw from. And then on the 22nd, we'll have another event. That roundtable will focus more on financial activities and vulnerability to cybersecurity related to those. You'll have an evaluation before the end of this event today, and we will be asking you for feedback about today's event, but also about the areas that you would like to see any additional roundtables focus on, so that when we're doing our planning and trying to assist the small businesses in this area, we really put together the programs that you guys want and need. During Phil's presentation, please make note of any questions that you have and save those for the roundtable discussion. And with that, I'll turn it over to Phil.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Phil Jadaberg. I'm the founder and CEO of PJ Networks Computer Services. I was really delighted when Betty Hogue reached out to me and asked if we wanted to help sponsor this event, work on the materials with them, do what we could to promote the activity, the presentation, and also to work the opportunity to work once again with Susan McGinnis from First Citizens Bank. I've worked with her over the years on a number of different things. We've been members of the same networking groups, and we've crossed paths many times. This is a special opportunity for me because I've been doing business computer support since the beginning of my career back in the mid-90s. And my specialty niche has always been small businesses. A lot of people have the misconception that a small business would be like 5 or 10 people, and that by the time you get to 20 computers or more, you're a mid-sized business. Not really. Not trying to do little smaller businesses, because by those standards, we're a very small business. We're a dozen people. Small businesses, by the government standpoint, by Microsoft standpoint, really anything less than 100 people. If you've got less than 100 computers and less than 100 people, you're small. If you get to the 100 to the 500 mark, you're mid-sized. And then if you get beyond that, you're considered to be more of a big business. So the focus here is simply because in the past, big businesses have been the targets 10, 15 years ago. They were always the ones getting hit, and small businesses got overlooked. In more recent years, especially the last 5 years, hackers have realized that small businesses are a very, very rich environment for plucking information, credit card information, personal information from accountants, from law firms, from medical offices. And as a general rule, their security is very low, it's very minimal, because the mentality has always been, well, we've only got 10 employees, who would think to pick on us? What I want everybody to understand going into the presentation is, it's not necessarily somebody specifically saying, hey, I'm going to pick on Bob over there in his 5-person network. It's hacker robots that are servers that are set up to troll the internet looking for open ports, finding weaknesses, and when they find one, that's when a human's attention will be brought to that server and they'll focus in on it. So please don't think, even if you're a 1-person operation, if you're keeping credit card information or medical information, it's just as important that you keep up to speed on this stuff as well. So having said that, PJ Networks, together with First Citizens Bank, the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, with Linda Tuberty, and who was kind of the organization, the event coordinator. We're very grateful to her. And then, of course, Betty Hogue. Yes, sir.
What do you mean by keeping that information? You mean if you use your credit card one time to buy something, then they can lock in on that, or you're actually keeping it somehow?
We'll actually cover that, and that's a legitimate question. I've kind of been asked to keep the question part to the second segment simply because I've done a couple of run-throughs of this, and if I go straight through, it'll be perfect. If I stop for any questions, we're going to run right into the Q&A, but we'll definitely cover that. I also want to give some credit to George Mason University, Mason Enterprise Center. I'm assuming that they're the ones who did the original PowerPoint. I wasn't told fully what their involvement was, but this presentation came from the SBDC of the state of Michigan and was given to Betty Hogue at SBDC.
The Virginia network of SBDCs has licensed the product that the Michigan SBDC network developed. And so the Mason Enterprise Center is the lead office for all the 29 SBDCs around the state of Virginia, so they are supportive of our office. And of course, we do get federal funding through a grant that's administered through the Small Business Administration. So we get to give credit to some of those folks who help support our offices and bring our services to the local businesses so that we don't have to charge for our services.
Right. And I would certainly like to say much of the credit goes to Betty and the SBDC for bringing the original presentation into my hands. There's, I'm sure, dozens, if not 100 hours of work went into the original one. I put some of my own touches in there to make it more modern. I mean, the presentation itself was very current, but I actually took very, very recent events and added them in. But I don't want to take credit for having designed the whole thing. A lot of people put a lot of work into it, and I'm grateful that they did that before I did. So the little bit of research I did, and then I'll kick into the presentation, was the word cybersecurity, which is a compound word. Most people, the word cyber is Greek for boring, and the word security is Latin for extremely boring. So if you put it together, you get boring, extremely boring. A lot of people kind of think of it that way. When you hear cybersecurity, it's just kind of it's a buzzword. By the end of this presentation, I think everybody will understand it's anything but. So I'll jump right into it and see if my new fancy pointer will do what it's supposed to do. So the agenda and the expected take-home pay, which is not money, but it's valuable information, is going to be a review of good cybersecurity concepts. It's going to be scenarios and these real-world examples of how you can go back to your office this afternoon and start tightening up security. And it's going to be a review and action items. Once again, things that you can go back and immediately start doing at your office. And hopefully nothing in here will be such a, oh no, that you'll be texting your office like, please, before I get back with you. It's like, hopefully you feel comfortable being here and that the office will take care of itself till you get back. So security, this is J.A. Security is not convenient. If you implement every measure in this presentation, you could be impacted. If you neglect to implement what's in this presentation, you will be impacted. And you will see several quotes from famous people throughout this that are going to nail that home, because we as a business computer support company have dealt with clients that have been breached, that have had ransomware, it's been ugly. So please, once again, don't take any of this too lightly. And I thank you for coming here, because you wouldn't have taken the time out of your schedules to be here if you didn't think it was important. I hope when you walk away today, you'll encourage other people to sign up for one of the following presentations. So why is cybersecurity such an issue now? Society's pushed us to a new plateau and a reliance on technology in both our personal and professional lives. Consider how much of what you use technology for in today's world. People rarely even listen to music that's not online anymore. I mean, I still happen to have vinyl and a turntable, and I love that. But a lot of people, because I live out in the country, so believe it or not, I don't have really good internet. But people have almost become to the point to where they don't know what to do without internet. Campgrounds, for example. Several of our larger clients are campgrounds. We have Misty Mountain Campground up in Crozet, 40 acres that we were able to cover with wireless internet connectivity. And it's one of the reasons why they're booked year-round. They're booked like 6 months in advance because not only are they beautiful, but they provide internet access. One of the questions they pose is try to come up with a part of your life that does not have some form of reliance on technology. One of the examples that they put on the presentation was brushing your teeth, but then the first thing I thought of was, well, my daughter has an electric toothbrush. It's not connected to the internet. I've got a Sonic here, but I think I've even heard of toothbrushes that will connect to the internet to make sure that you're brushing your teeth long enough. So everything's becoming dependent on technology. And unfortunately with that comes the responsibility to be secure, but the problem with security is it's not convenient. Cybersecurity is almost never convenient. Having a password that's this long is not convenient, but it's necessary. So hopefully by the end of the presentation we'll see why it's necessary. But apparently, according to statistics, there's been a 660% increase in cyber attacks in the last 4 years. So that's almost 7-fold. All right, so first of all, we're always connected, so there's an increase in windows of opportunity, what's called surface area, when you're looking at an attack vector. We have an IT-centric business and society, so there's an increase in business targets. 20 years ago, accounting firms, because I was in IT back then, still did most of their work on ledgers. That doesn't happen anymore. If a network goes down at an accounting firm, they pretty much, if they know it's not going to be back up, by the end of the day, they'll send their employees home. It's that bad. And then there's a new system class by tech skills, which means there's more people doing more technology, so there's more of a chance for human error. And our network security engineer, our specialist, told me he wanted to be here today, but he had to be at an event in Philadelphia. But he said, make sure everybody in the room understands 95% of security breaches come from inside of a company, either through human error or through intentional malicious activity. 95%. So it's not hacks from the outside, it comes from within. So what do breaches cost per year? Approximately 100 billion in the USA, and that's a 2015 statistic, so it could easily be 50% more than that. $300 billion globally. And sorry, let me go back to that last slide real quick. Last slide. And it's not all because of companies, large companies like Target or Home Depot. The smaller businesses are starting to contribute, bless you, to a larger and larger percentage of these hacks. So once again, we're going to focus on small business. So hacktivism. Hacktivism is the act of hacking or breaking into a computer system for a politically or socially motivated purpose. It's not monetarily driven. The individual who performs an act or individuals, hacktivism, bless you, is said to be a hacktivist. We saw hacktivism used for a noble purpose back in November of 2015. Does anybody remember or have heard about that event? It was big news at the time, and of course the news cycle moves very quickly. But does anybody know what they're talking about there? It was after the terrorist attacks on the Charlie Hebdo magazine in France, which caused a worldwide outrage. It was an Islamic attack. It was the Islamic State, and as a direct result of that, and I did a bunch of research on this last night because even I wasn't super familiar with the story, but millions of people worldwide were having not just protests but like celebratory, commemorative gatherings for the people that died in that. But there was a group called Anonymous. That's an anonymous hacking group that declared that their purpose was pretty much to hunt down and punish the Islamic State terrorists responsible for the Paris attacks that killed 129 people in an online war. So they decided they were going to whip out their technology and go on the warpath with the Islamic State. So social engineering is one of the methods that hackers, that people use to penetrate security of small businesses. It's the use of manipulation using psychology to coerce one into giving up information. So they would target maybe you, maybe one of your employees. It can happen through phishing emails. I think we've all seen those. I get reports of it every day from my clients. They get an email that looks suspicious. It says, it's vague about, we need you to reset your password. Would you please click on this link? Most of them have been educated. I'm really adamant about making sure all of our clients are up to speed on what to do and what not to do. But whenever there's a question, they just forward it to us and we look at it and go, yes, you're right, this was bogus. In fact, I can't remember the last time any of them forwarded me anything that was a legitimate email. I mean, and we're talking about in the last 50 or 60 times I've been emailed something, there was always a phishing scam. Then there's some more dangerous ones, and that's spear phishing. And that looks like the same as a phishing email, but it appears to be from someone you know. They look very legitimate. It just happened last week twice at one of my client sites that's an accounting firm, and the email said it came from the owner of the firm. It was one of the employees who's in charge of transferring funds for their clients. And it basically said, you know, and I'll change the names, but Susan, would you please route X number of dollars to this routing number and account number in order to cover their taxes? And it said it came from the owner of the company. Now the employee was wise enough not to just click a button and do it, so they forwarded it to me. They said this looks suspicious. And sure enough, if you hovered over the sender's email address, it said the name of the owner, but it wasn't her email address. And that's almost always a giveaway in these phishing emails. If you hover on any links or the email address of the sender, it's going to tell you that it's not legitimate. And depending on which IT company you're working for or you work with, typically you can forward it to them and they'll look at it. And if you're not working with anyone, at the end of the seminar, I'll give you an email address. You can always forward something like that to us. We'll take a quick look and we'll tell you yes or no. Impersonation or tailgating. That's physical impersonation of a trusted person and or piggybacking on allowed access to a restricted area. So for example, that would be me walking into one of our client sites, maybe the accounting firm that I've mentioned, with my PJ Network shirt on, and they all know me. And there's even a sign that says, warning, only authorized personnel allowed past this point. And I could be on my way in a hurry to get to the server room because there's something going on. If somebody was trying to infiltrate the facility physically, they could basically jump right behind me and walk through the door. And if I'm in a hurry, I might not turn around and see them. And if they walked and acted in the right manner, the person at the front desk would assume they're with me. That would be called tailgating. That same thing could be said. It's very similar to when you go to an apartment complex to visit a friend and you have to buzz your way in. And I'm guilty of this too. And somebody just happens to be walking out of the building while you're walking up. So, and they hold the door open for you, or you grab the door before it closes and you go in. Well, technically you just breached that building's security. Obviously your intentions aren't bad and nobody's going to get in trouble. But I mean, it's tailgating, so that's a form of tailgating, or tailgating. And another example of piggybacking that I thought of yesterday while I was giving this presentation is since I've been in business for 12 years, I have never given any of my retired work shirts to Goodwill. And it's not because I don't believe in Goodwill. I'll give them anything in the world, but not my work shirts, because if I give that to Goodwill and they sell it to somebody, they're now walking around wearing a PJ Network shirt that will get them golden access into a lot of client sites. Now, once again, my client sites, even with somebody's name on this, would say, hold on, let me call Phil and see why you're here. But the bottom line is it's not that hard to put on a repairman, put on an electrician's repairman's cap and walk in and say, Mr. So-and-so, because they looked up the owner's name on the internet, told me to come here and check out the electrical room. Could you please tell me where it is? And they go, oh, it's right back there next to where the server is. So once again, that's social engineering. Requires no technology at all. It just requires manipulation. And then finally, there's baiting. I'm not quite sure, I'll be honest about it. I mean, they're using of a promise of incentive for gathering your information, gift cards, free movies, money. I mean, if they're talking about the general, put your email address in here to get a coupon, I guess that might be what they're talking about. And oftentimes, what you're doing is pretty much installing a little stupid piece of adware that's going to start bugging you. So I guess that's what baiting is. But the other three are definitely something I see on a very regular basis. So this guy's like, hey dude, this you got me last week. It was my message from my supplier asking me to update my password. I see those type of phishings all the time. Your password needs to be verified. Please click on this link so that we can verify the complexity of your password. I would like to think everybody here understands that's probably not a good idea. In fact, no legitimate entity I know of is ever going to ask you to click on a link and type your password in to verify it. If there was ever a question from your bank, call your bank and say, hey, I got this email. They'll tell you it's false, but if you were concerned, call them. They'll tell you. And then I don't know what her accent is. That was me. People forget hackers have jobs too, easy places to practice. So they pretty.
She's a hacker.
Yeah, she's a hacker. She's not a hacker. She's a hacker. So best practices to protect bare minimum. Number one, back up your data daily. Very, very, very important. The client that I have that got run the crypto wall twice in 1 week, a year and a half ago. And this was before I was able to convince that client that they needed to beef up their security measures. Literally, it was like I had been pinging on them for 6 months, but you can't make somebody do something. I can't make somebody buy a solution. An employee got an email. It said, it was so stupid. The wording was like, pleasing to look at my resume. And it was a resume.zip. And it went to an intern who had no right to even look at somebody's resume anyway, and she clicked it, and she unleashed crypto wall. And it started ripping through, and it got through about 75,000 files on the server before that machine, before somebody said, what are you doing? And they unplugged the computer. We were able to recover them because of backups, because I'll tell you, once ransomware hits your data, unless you pay the ransom and get really lucky and they give you the encryption key, you're not getting the data back. Philip works at one of our shops. He's seen encrypted data before. Philip, is there any getting unencrypting that data? But if you have a backup, can you recover them? So there you go. You couldn't hear that, but he was nodding, shaking his head no, and nodding his head yes. So backup daily, and then offsite too. It's very important because the offsite part would be in the unthinkable case that your building burned down. That's recovery, not from hacking, but just business recovery. You know, my job is to make sure that small businesses don't go out of business because of something like that. Excuse me. So back up your data daily, please, please, please. Network properly configured, use an IT pro. I did not put that in there. And what they're talking about is you don't have to have an IT pro come in every day or every week or even every month. But when you set up your network security, when you put in your firewall, when you set up your computer policies about the password complexity, use a professional. You don't have to use us. There's plenty of other people in town that do it. But try not to use your friend's cousin or your nephew or whatever who just got out of, you know, his computer courses at the community college. Nothing against community college, but a professional is there to, you know, that couple of $100, or even if it's only $100 that you spend to get somebody to help you get set up, is going to last for years. So use an IT pro. Immunize your antivirus, use antivirus software. Keep updated. And the one thing that they don't mention here, and I'm surprised in this forum screen they don't, just as important and maybe more important than updating and having a good antivirus, patches. Patches, patches, patches. Java is a vulnerability. A lot of hacks go through because of Java scripts being outdated. That's something that our shop, Philip works at one of our shops, every time a computer comes in to get anything done, they take the time to update those patches. Adobe Flash Player is a huge vulnerability, and that gets attacked all the time. Your computer could have all of its Windows updates, it could have a really good antivirus, and yet if your Adobe Flash Player is out of date and you go to a malicious website, it's going to corrupt you anyway. So in addition to good antivirus, make sure that you've got good patching. And then credentials, don't make it easy. Basically, the longer the password, the better. They talk about the best practices, or, you know, numbers. Everybody's heard this: numbers, letters, uppercase, lowercase, symbols. In the old day, 10 years ago, if you had a password, even 5 years ago, that was 8 characters long, it was essentially configured to be unhackable by modern decryption software, like a brute force attack that will just roll through. Computers have gotten to be so fast and quick anymore, it's not. Our standard is a minimum of 12 now, with a preferred of 16. For the sake of this presentation, they're saying 25. So that's getting long, and we're going to talk a little bit later in the presentation about how you can manage those kind of passwords. But a good way of coming up with good complex passwords is to come up with a nice long sentence and to take the first letter from every word in that sentence and use that. So like, I go to the Outer Banks, that's OBX, capital OBX, every summer since 2012, exclamation point, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. That's a 20-character password. Use the first letter from every one of those. Nobody's going to hack it. Nobody's going to guess it. And you'll probably remember it if you come up with a phrase that makes sense to you. So once again, it's an easy way to have a complex password that's you can at least somewhat remember. They'll cover more on complex passwords later. I'm not going to beat that one with a stick, but if there's anything you can do to be more secure, it is doing the complexity of your passwords. All right, so malware. What is malware? It's designed, there's multiple reasons why malware gets designed. It's designed to let a hacker gain control over your computer or device so that they can do what's called key logging. So you get malware on your system that's key logging, and when you go log into your banking website and you type in your username, it's recording every keystroke for your username and it's sending it out to a server on the internet that goes, oh, Phil Jadaborg uses BB&T, this is his username. And then when I type in my password, even though it's all asterisked out on my screen, it still knows what keys I'm hitting and it sends that back, and now the hacker has my banking account username and password. It's that easy. It's usually installed by a virus or connecting to a network that is infected, like a Wi-Fi connection. I can't say I've heard of a lot of them. I haven't seen personally a lot of the infected Wi-Fis. I know they're out there. It's becoming more prevalent, where a hacker will go to a public hotspot place like Panera Bread. They'll bring their own little portable hotspot, and if it's configured right and it's aggressive enough, it will actually not only broadcast itself as if it was their hotspot, it'll suppress the signal of their hotspot. So when you connect to their hotspot, you're connecting to the hackers, and everything that you do is then getting relayed through their little hotspot. So when you're in a public, and we'll cover this more, but in a public area, be very careful about what you do. Don't do online banking, don't buy stuff. But usually malware is installed by a virus, by clicking on a link on a web page, or by getting an infected attachment. Malware may not act like a virus. That might erase or corrupt files. So malware comes in many shapes or forms. And typically the most common symptom is that it slows your computer way, way down. And so if you go to a website one day and your computer was always great, and suddenly it runs really slow, and you reboot it and it's still slow, chances are you need to run something to clean it up. Malwarebytes is a free utility that works great. If you can't get it off yourself, bring it to a professional shop. The longer it's on there, the more chance you're going to reveal important information. And then malware can send information about your computer or device anytime it's connected. So you go to the public hotspot at Panera, you connect to their access point, you're only there for 15 minutes and you leave, but if that hotspot injected something on your computer in the form of malware, everywhere you go from then on until it gets cleaned is going to be revealing your information. So maybe you didn't do any online banking there. Okay, so maybe you didn't do any online banking while you were there, but your computer is then infected. So really understanding malware. The usual suspects. It's called ransomware, this one, ransomware, aliases, CryptoLocker, CryptoWall, Locky, KeyRanger, TeslaCrypt. What it does is it locks and encrypts your files, then it deletes them until payment is made. It basically just puts an encryption code on them so that you can't open. You try to open them in Word. Has anybody here ever been hit with any kind of ransomware? Okay, so one gentleman. So you can still see your document. It still says something .doc, but when you click it, Microsoft Word goes, you're trying to open an unrecognized file format. And then you go, that's weird. And then you try to open another one. And then you go to an Excel. And the next thing, then you realize that nothing on your computer is opening anymore. Recently, and this is where I started adding a few slides of my own to keep it relevant. Recently, there was a worldwide cyber attack that used a security vulnerability in Microsoft Windows. I think you were asking me about this at the beginning. To inject malicious code into computers, resulting in the encryption of data in 176 different file formats, including Word, Excel, PowerPoint, zip, and image files. This happened in May of this year, 2 months ago. Can anybody here name what that infection was called? WannaCry. Okay, excellent.
What was it?
Nobody at my accounting firm.
WannaCry.
WannaCry or WannaCrypt. And so this is how it spread. It started on the 11th of May. And this is the course over the next 5 days of how it spread worldwide. And at the end of the cycle, And boy, it was in the news. For a week, you heard nothing, you heard, everything was WannaCry. And in the course of 5 days, it covered 200,000 computers in over 150 countries. And it started with a hospital in England, in the UK, that had outdated Windows updates. So, the National Security Agency, supposedly, and I say supposedly so the little men in black suits don't come after me, knew about the unpatched vulnerability in Microsoft Windows, but they did not tell Microsoft. So what the NSA does, the National Security Agency does, is they gather and research and find vulnerabilities and weaknesses in every operating system they can. Apple, Windows, Linux, everything, smartphones, Apple phones, so that if they ever want to get into like a terrorist web network community or whatever, they've got backdoors to get in. But they didn't tell Microsoft about it. So Microsoft, it was a vulnerability for a long time. Microsoft found it on their own back in the beginning of March. On March 14th, they released an update for Microsoft Windows, an automatic critical update. So if you're getting those Windows critical updates where it comes up and prompts you every so often, when updates, if you clicked on the button and said install it, then you were immune. So it was that simple. You weren't going to get WannaCry. But over 200 million computers in the world didn't do that. And the patch was out there for 2 full months. So that tells you how important it is. You know, you don't have to get patches the day they come out, but you certainly want them within a month of coming out. And once again, the rumor has it out there in the world that the NSA has a huge database of all kinds of vulnerabilities that we don't know about yet. The only reason we know about WannaCry is because it got released out in the wild. So, and funny enough, the federal government is also the one sponsoring, the SBEA is sponsoring this activity. So maybe they felt guilty. These are the type of files. Whoops, that's not the pointer. Back up. So these are the type of files that were encrypted by WannaCry. Some of them may look familiar if you know what a .doc, a .docx, an XLS file, PowerPoint, MP3s. I mean, I've got like 40 gigs of MP3s that I've compiled over the last 15 years, where every CD I've ever bought, I've imported into iTunes. So I've got like 40 gigs worth of music. If WannaCry came through and ripped through and corrupted all of them, and I would have to go back and rip several hundreds, thousands of CDs. Anyway, so you get the idea. The impact was vast. This happened on Tuesday of this week, folks, 3 days ago. I had to get a screenshot. A Republican contractor's database of nearly every voter was exposed on the internet for 12 days. This is data, this wasn't necessarily confidential data, this was data that this brain think tank had collected over years of research, finding every piece of publicly available information that anybody had ever posted, like their political leanings on Facebook, whether they were in favor of gun control or not, what their religious leanings were. Everything they could glean was in a 1.1 terabyte database sitting on Amazon servers with no password on it. And a company called UpGuard Security, which is a research firm, found it and downloaded the entire thing to be able to show the company, the contractor, look what you have sitting out there on the internet. So if they got it, the Russians probably got it, the Chinese got it. If everybody in here is a registered voter, then everybody in here, your information was in that database. It's that simple. Are there going to be any legal repercussions? Probably not. But I'm just letting you know that's. So was it hacking? No. But was it a data breach? Yes. Why? Because somebody left data just sitting there. It's like leaving information on your Windows desktop at work, leaving your screensaver off, and walking away with company spreadsheets sitting on top of your desktop. So information doesn't just have to be hacked to be vulnerable. It can just be sitting out in plain sight. So acceptable use policy. Every small business, no matter how small, should have an acceptable use policy for your computers and the internet, even if it's just a one-pager. I believe Betty and Linda have included. Okay, so part of the handout that you have, right towards the middle, there's just a sample one that you are welcome to use. You can find tons of them on the internet. If you want it in electronic format, if you email me, my business cards are back there, or you'll get an email address at the end, and just say, hey Phil, I'd love to have a copy of the electronic form. I'll email you a link to it on the internet. You can copy and paste it into a Word doc, replace company name with your company name, have your employees sign it. Now you have some legal standing if you get hacked or breached because an employee didn't follow the policy you had them sign. If you don't have them sign an internet usage policy and you get breached and your client's data gets and they sue you, you don't have a legal leg to stand on because you didn't have a use policy. So that's how important. That's one big takeaway everybody should get from that. And there's an example of what SANS Institute would. And once again, it's a sample that's got a company name in there, and they literally just let you cut and paste your own company name. There's nothing, they're giving it to you for free, so take advantage of these resources. Or you can just get on Google and Google sample company internet usage policy, and you'll find a dozen. Pick the one that looks like it fits you best, and away you go. He's a 5-employee coffee shop. Does he really need this? Yes, especially if he processes credit cards when people, are, yes, he does need to have that. Myth or fact? Users of the Apple Mac platform are impervious to cyber attacks. Who in the room still believes that? 10 years ago, it was fairly true. 10 years ago, it was almost impossible to have heard of anybody getting hacked. That wasn't because Macs were unhackable. It's because nobody had taken the time to hack them. Because 95% of the computers used in businesses for business activities, not for graphics work or web design, but for accounting work and for stuff like that, or Windows PCs. So if you're a hacker and you're after money, you wouldn't bother hacking a Mac because you're just going to get a bunch of pretty pictures and music and video files. So anyway, but that's, bam, surprise, it's not true anymore. While it's true that it's less common, Philip, you've seen Macs come in that have been infected? A little louder so you can hear.
Yes.
Thank you. See, now the microphone picked you up. So yes, he will tell you that he's seen it, we've cleaned them, it happens. Here we go. I've already covered best password practices, so we'll move through this quickly, but the longer the better. The complexity needs to be good. This one says minimum of 16 characters. Now that's 24 being preferred. I mean, where do you stop? Mix of letters, numbers, and characters are ideal. Everybody needs to be aware, if you look across the keyboard of a computer, all the symbol keys, from the tilde on the left to the plus sign on the right, all of those are usable, and we highly recommend using them in a password because they're not in dictionary words. So use pluses, minuses, exclamation points are popular, dollar signs when you're dealing with banking, stuff like that. It's recommended that you don't reuse the same password across multiple sites and applications. Personally, I keep 4 levels of passwords. One of them's for like critical business stuff, accounting, banking passwords. Those are on one level that only I and my wife know because she's also the owner of the company. There's a next level that we use for doing business transactions like buying stuff from Amazon and Staples and stuff. And then there's another level that I use for that stuff that's kind of midway between business and personal, but I still want to know that if that password gets hacked, it's not affecting any of my other accounts. And then there's a really generic one that I use when I'm signing up for stuff that there's no risk whatsoever. It's just something stupid that I wanted to get, and I didn't want to get one of my real passwords. I get one of my simple passwords. Safe storage means using a software tool. We're going to get into that. So uniqueness, one and done. And if you really want to be secure, don't use the same old password twice for anything. And the way you do that is you use what's called a password manager or a wallet or a safe. And a couple of examples of that are going to be. And sharing only if you have to. So especially at work, discourage employees from sharing passwords with each other. But if you need to give somebody in your company, for example, a password to get into a website, and it's like Amazon where people can buy stuff with your money, text it to them or call it to them. Do not email it to them. It's just too easy for email to get hacked. So don't, share it only if you have to, and if you do, texting is fairly safe. Calling them up is fairly safe. Don't ever email it. Now, safekeeping, which is using a manager or wallet or safe, encrypted. These applications, so we've got, my favorite here is KeyPass, but there's also Dashlane and LastPass. LastPass is probably the most popular one. Are applications that you can run both on your phone and on your computer, multiple computers, that all connect to the same password database that you can not only keep passwords in, but when you're creating a new one for a new online account or whatever, they'll generate a complex one for you. And it's going to be impossible to remember it, so random numbers and letters. Or they'll let you generate your own complex one and then save it. And each one can be unique because every time you need to retrieve the password for anything, you just pull out your phone and you open up your password protected LastPass and you want it, and so there you go, there's the password, it's secure. So I highly recommend, and like I said, I like KeyPass. I've started installing it at a lot of client sites so that it's free. And a lot of users on the network can start storing company passwords or client passwords of theirs and keep them securely locked in an encrypted database. The importance of physical security. People are the key to physical security. People can undermine physical security. If anybody has any clue what that means, I wish you would tell me. Because I've been looking at this presentation for a week now, and I don't know what it means, but I'm certain somebody here might throw this out. Informs, okay, whatever, we'll skip to the next one, but I don't know, I don't get it. And they didn't give me any notes here, they gave me a clue. Can improve cybersecurity, I understand that one. Much of our intuitives of what we learned about physical security can translate to cybersecurity. So you wouldn't leave your house, especially if you live in the city, without locking your front door. You wouldn't leave your car in the parking lot without locking the door. Don't leave your computer sitting on your desk without locking the keyboard. There's a Windows key. Does everyone know that? To the left, 2 keys over from the space key, there's a little flag-looking thing. That's a Windows key. Hold the Windows key down and hit the L button, locked. And when you come back to you pick it up again, you type in your password. Doctor's offices, you'll see that, the doctor's in the exam room with you. He's got your patient data up on the screen. If he walks out of that room and leaves that up and unlocked, then a patient who might be curious about their ex-husband's health condition could jump up and start and look up his records. I mean, literally. So he has to lock the screen every time he leaves and unlock it every time he comes in. Is it convenient? No. But is it necessary? Yes. So once again, it's not convenient, but physical security, cybersecurity go hand in hand. What to do with ex-employees? Change all passwords. It's possible that one employee didn't know another employee's password, but just to be safe, if you hit Control-Alt-Delete on a Windows computer, one of the options on the screen is change password. It's that simple. Control-Alt-Delete, change password. Doesn't matter if it's a local account or if it's a network account. It'll give you a prompt that says, what would you like your password to be? You type in the old one, you type in the new one, it's done. The second the employee walks out the door. Disable user accounts. I often have clients of mine, especially the larger ones, that'll let me know in advance before they have to have a meeting with an employee to either terminate or let them know or determine whether they're going to terminate. And they'll say, I'm going into a meeting at 11 o'clock with one of my employees. I want you to connect into my server at 11:05 and disable that account. And then if I come out of that meeting and we've worked out an agreement and they're going to stay on, I'll call you and let you know to re-enable it. But I want to know that when we walk out of my office, they don't have access to that network. Not locally, not remotely, nothing. So disable user accounts the moment that person is gone. Get professional help if needed. If you don't know how to do this stuff, somebody can show you. I mean, one of the strengths I think with our company and a number of other companies in town is you don't need us to do that every single time you get rid of somebody. You just need us to come in and train you one time what you should do when an employee leaves, and then you'll be able to do it on your own. Now, best uses for public Wi-Fi. Don't do anything of value financially when you're connected to a public Wi-Fi. If you're going to a hotel and you want to do a lot of business stuff, bring a little mobile one, or use your phone. Most people here realize smartphones can be used as a mobile hotspot. So just turn on the hotspot. If you don't know how to do that, go to your cell phone company, or your store, and they'll show you for free. I mean, you can have somebody like me show you, but they'll show you for free how to turn on your Wi-Fi hotspot, how to put a password on it, and then you can use your own internet connection, and you're 100% secure. Personal protection means have some sort of personal security software on your phone. It can be, there's free ones, there's Avast, is a good one, and AVG makes a good one. BitLocker is the one I think that I'm using, makes a good one. What they do is they not just keep an eye out for suspicious looking activity on your phone, but every time you download and install an app, they scan it and make sure that it's not on any known malware databases. So like I said, AVG is good, Avast is good, BitLocker is good. There's plenty of others, but that's enough to choose from. Just find one, put it on your phone, and they don't bug you all the time. Install it, it's done, it's secure. And then stay secure. Be careful about what you're doing. Make sure that if your software prompts you that you need an update, tell it to update. Target-rich environment. Wahaha. Public Wi-Fi. That's what she's talking about. Now, a little about using social media. Social media is such a huge tool these days. Small businesses, we live and die by it, because I'm not a big business. I'm lumped in with everybody else. We're small businesses. I do Facebook ads. We do Facebook posts. We do Twitter posts. Social media, it's almost a necessity. Same rules apply. Credentials, long passwords, complex passwords. Ensure that they're not easy to guess or to hack in. Only share them, only share what's necessary when you're promoting your business. I don't think anybody here would go on Facebook and go, hey, if anybody was curious, our routing number is. But just be careful what you're putting out there. Like with homes, you know, with personal accounts, they say don't give too much information about your children. Like, you know, it's like because you're putting information out there that untowards people might get their hands on. Remember, apps are on your phone. It's not just about mining your logins from your PC. These apps are on your phone. Update and review frequently. So at least visit your Facebook page if you got a business one once a week. And by the way, for social media purposes, post something once a week. Even if it's just Happy Friday, everybody, keep the content going. The person, let's see what they're doing. Unlike other forms of digital communication, the person that controls your company's social media presence, whoever it is, whether it's you or an employee, can dramatically change your company's image with the rest of the world, with the local community, with a few taps of the keystroke on a phone or a computer. And in a minute's indiscretion, in terms of what is shared on social media, you can totally damage your company's reputation. For example, you know, political leanings aside, I wouldn't give Donald Trump my company's Twitter account because I want to know that whatever's getting put on on Twitter on behalf of PJ Networks is something that was representative of my company. So don't give it to your friends. Don't give it to any employee that you don't want to have access to it. Buying and selling online. Look for this is pretty simple stuff. Look for the lock up in the corner next to the HTTPS. You'll see a lock. S stands for secure. I think everybody knows that when you're doing an online transaction, secure, and it means encrypted. It means that your transaction, there's a point-to-point encryption between you and the banking or the Amazon or wherever you're buying from. The known and trusted site, I'm kind of 50-50 on that because anybody can fake a trusted symbol. So I look for the HTTPS. If you're selling, once again, make sure that you're selling through an encrypted website. Don't have it unencrypted. And use proven technology. Susan McGinnis, First Citizen Bank, would be very knowledgeable on this type of thing. Only use approved apps, approved credit card terminals, things that have no chance of being compromised. And only store your data securely. If you're keeping it on a computer, like people's credit card numbers, make sure it's encrypted. If you're writing it down on a piece of paper so that you can process it, the minute it's done, shred it. Yeah, just shred it. Otherwise, somebody can grab that credit card number and do mean things with it. Like I said earlier in the presentation, I will call a company sometimes just to verify that something's legitimate if I get an email that makes me wonder what's going on. Real quickly, this is a sample data breach scan of a client server, a potential client server. Because I wanted to convince them as an accounting firm they could have huge liabilities in the way of what they were keeping in their QuickBooks data files. We came up with $153,363 worth of violations because of the number of Social Security numbers that they were keeping in their database. And 81% of the vulnerabilities on that server were because of Adobe. So that's just reinforcing the numbers I was giving you earlier. But and that's not counting civil penalties, fines, or lawsuits from the actual people whose data got breached. That's the government saying, you were breached, you owe us $153,000. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on HIPAA, but I think everybody understands that medical offices, because they keep people's medical data, which is very personal, have very, very, very stringent security measures. And in fact, on the lowest level of a violation, as low as $100, the highest level of violation, if it's determined that the violation was based on willful neglect, meaning that the organization knew that the data was supposed to be secured and they didn't do anything about it, $50,000 per violation. As one of my clients will tell you, he teaches his new employees, if you drop this patient data sheet in a shred box, it's cost nothing. If you drop it in a trash can, it's a $50,000 violation to us. Don't do it. And that gets their attention. Got my attention when he told me. If you're not on the internet, you're safe. That's a lie. Thumb drives, thumb drives, thumb drives. If I dropped a thumb drive in the parking lot of this library, if one of you didn't pick it up, somebody would have. And what's the first thing you probably would have done with it? You would have gone to the nearest computer and stuck it in there. And I could have put a self-executing file on there. And if you'd have taken it back to your workplace, you immediately gave me access to your network. So I can't tell you. So you're not safe just because you're not online. So you've been compromised. Now what? Immediately disconnect and lock down. If your system starts acting weird, if it freezes up for a few seconds, starts to work again, and then reboots itself and comes back up, and then it's acting really, really slow, you probably have ransomware. Unplug it. unplug it and go to a professional, because that's the sign of ransomware. Immediately disconnect and unplug it. Inform affected parties, including your customers. You have to legally. The longer you wait, the more trouble you're in. Resolve and resume your work. So get the issues resolved by a professional, and so you get back to business. And try to keep in mind that an hour of downtime can be very expensive, so don't waste time dilly-dallying or playing it with it yourself. Get professional help, get back in business. These companies were compromised. It's almost kind of old news. What can we learn? Own it if you have a breach. Fix it fast. Prevent it from happening again, and show everybody that you've prevented it. I'm kind of rushing through because we're getting to the end of this and my time's running short. In a malware scenario, really quickly, beware of warnings from programs you don't have. Like if you're not using it and a program comes up and goes, warning, I'm warning you about something, it's fake. Turn your computer off, turn it back on, 9 times out of 10, you won't see it again. It's a fake warning. Slow browsing. If your computer starts running really slowly, you probably have malware. Redirected web browsing, you do a Google search, you click on the finds, and they're not taking you to the website you thought you clicked on. That's definitely a sign of malware. Not data breach, but malware. Something is redirecting you to websites where they want you to go. And then pop-up messages, especially ones that tell you to call a 1-800 number. Perfect example. In Facebook, on Google News, on the right-hand side, if you ever see an ad like that, Douglas is gone, 72, click on that, you just got infected. Chances are you're going to get a pop-up like this, warning, Microsoft has detected that storage is essentials. You call that number, they'll tell you they need to connect in with a strong foreign accent into your computer. We've had tons of people that have done it, and then they bring in their computer to us with a tear in their eye going, my computer, they said they were going to fix it, they charged me $300. So once again, don't ever call a 1-800 number if it pops up. Call us or call one of our competition, or call a professional. They'll tell you what to do. Usually just turn the computer off, start it back up again. It's just a fake pop-up. A quick scenario of an example of phishing email. If it comes from an unknown entity, if it's telling you it's supposedly from Congress or from some authority, if it's asking you for you to give us your password, if it looks like there's bad spelling and grammar problems, don't do it. Don't do it. Just delete it. If it's that important, they'll call, right? That's what I figured. Physical security, once again, lock your doors, lock your windows, lock your safe. If you're in a coffee shop, lock your computer. If you're a high-value target at home, make sure you keep your home locked. My accounting client said we don't even, one day we left client documents printed out next to a window in somebody's office. And then that window got broken into and the documents didn't get stolen, but we realized somebody could have just looked in the window and gotten information. So the obvious things. Fraudulent wire transactions. Somebody here, the gentleman from the Daily Progress, was talking about that. I think about a fraudulent wire transfer, or we were talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
So once again, you know, somebody from Saudi Arabia wants to transfer $72 million to his dying mother. Would you please help him? Don't. Just don't.
You'd be surprised how many Nigerian princes are still wandering around.
And you think, you know, they would run out of money by now. And then, I'm not going to focus on this one because it's a very little used scenario. It's basically a demonstration that a kid could walk up, put something on a wireless hotspot, inject a code from another website and bring the network down. But that's not actually an attack. It's just a denial of service, so that doesn't really apply here. There are only 2 types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that will. Anybody recognize his name? This was written 2 years ago. So that's when he was in charge of the FBI. So that's, I personally don't want to believe that, but the idea is to stay on the latter side of the statement as long as you can. According to Symantec, nearly half of all cyber attacks are levied against small businesses. 60% of companies that are data breached never recover. An important statistic. What should you do now? 1, further your education. 2, go back to the office and based on what we've learned, assess your situation. 3, improve it. Call a professional if you need to, but if nothing else, you can do most of this on your own. And then there's the Small Big Biz Threat website. I was going to take you to it. You guys can obviously visit it on your own. I was very impressed. I thought it was going to be kind of a cheesy little government website, but it's a cool place where you go in, you click a couple of questions about what kind of business and how big you are, and it'll take you through a 27-question quiz that covers pretty much all this information that we just went over, but it's also got buttons to click into more in-depth on all 27 questions and explaining why the answers are wrong and why they're right. So I strongly encourage you guys to check it out. Small Biz Big Threat
/ Virginia.
/ Virginia. Why do you don't have to do that?
You have a sheet.
Yeah, so you have to do / Virginia. The smallbizbigthreat.com. Okay. Well, it's still a
Which
really.
is not customized for Virginia.
Oh, okay. All right. So / Virginia. This is a handout that I have back on the table. That's a takeaway to walk away of what you can do on your own and what you may want to pay a professional to come in and do. And then basically, just remember security pjnetworks-networks.com. If you have any kind of security question as a follow-up to this, or if you grab my business card, just email me. We don't charge for answering questions. If you need a consultation, we'll schedule that and come in. But if you just have some simple questions, email them to me or call me and we'll give them to you. We like small businesses and we want you to succeed because small businesses are what help our community thrive. And that's it. That's the end of the presentation. How about you?
Roundtable discussion portion of our event today. This is an opportunity to ask some experts with expertise from different types of backgrounds questions, but it's also an opportunity to share experiences, trials, tribulations, solutions with each other. This is a format that we hope to repeat with little different focus on the discussion each time. I mentioned earlier that on July 11th, we'll do an event like this again, and the roundtable will discuss more about HIPAA and healthcare offices and some of the unique things related to them. And then on the 22nd, we will be looking at focusing more on the impact of cybersecurity through financial transactions. We are looking then to be able to plan additional roundtables and events like this in the future based on your all's feedback. One of the things that Linda passed out while we were on break is, trying to make everything plural, is an evaluation. If you will fill that out before you leave today so that we have information back from you about the event today, but also some information about what you'd like to see in the future. That would be very helpful to us. In the packet that you have in front of you, there's also, I think the second document maybe is a training profile document. If you have a minute to fill that out, that's also helpful to us. The federal government likes for us to be able to report to them, we did this many workshops with this many people, and this many of them were veterans, and this many were women, and this many were already in business, and this many were thinking about it, and this many were just there, or whatever. So if you could fill that out for us, it's very, very helpful. There may be questions that come up today. Might not happen, but there may be questions that come up today that none of us are fully prepared to answer absolutely today. If that happens, Linda will make note of the question that we want more information about. We will get some help in researching that particular question, and then we'll email all of you that information. We also will email a copy of the PowerPoint slides. I will mention that we are videotaping all of these events. Our hope is that the quality of the videotape, and I'm sure it will be, Philip, will be excellent enough that we can put it on a YouTube channel and you will be able to view it later on. You know, if the topic is something that you really want to take part in, it's better to be here live. But if you can't make it and have interest, hopefully you'll be able to look at those videos later. So we have several experts here to interact with you on some discussion of cybersecurity. I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction, and then I'm going to ask each of them to just talk briefly about what their experience is and a little bit about the organization that they come from. So going from your right to left, we have Phil Jederberg, who you just listened to. Phil is the CEO and founder of PJ Networks and is an excellent resource. I will mention that the Central Virginia SBDC is a client of PJ Networks. They have helped us over the last several years in amping up our security tremendously. Everything that we do with our clients is confidential. There's lots of information there, so it is extremely important that we keep that information secure. And PJ Networks has been very helpful in helping us be able to do that. Next to Phil is Dr. Andrew Collins, who owns and operates Blue Ridge Ophthalmology. Has valuable experience in what it takes to keep his practice at the leading edge of cybersecurity, so he's essentially one of you guys. And then next to Dr. Collins, we have Kelly Dye, who is a business banker with First Citizens Bank. And next to him is Susan McGinnis, who is my main contact at First Citizens Bank, and she's a financial services manager. Okay, so I will ask, starting with Phil and going across, each of them to just give you a couple of minutes background information about themselves, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Now, do you want to pass the mic around?
Whatever you think works.
I think so. That way when
You're
questions
the
come up.
IT guy.
That way when questions come up, we can give it to the others.
Okay.
So first of all, I gave an introduction, a brief one earlier. 2 corrections that my good friend and employee, Philip, pointed out to me. One, I made an incorrect statement. I said that when you're using your cell phone as a mobile hotspot, I might have used the word 100% secure. He pointed out, first of all, nothing's 100% secure. Second of all, there are some pretty advanced hackers out there. In fact, we hired a guy who is a certified ethical hacker who would probably argue that that's not 100%, but it's close. So you're better off than using a public Wi-Fi. And number 2, the name of the mobile antivirus is Bitdefender, not BitLocker. Having said that, real quickly, I grew up in Orange, Virginia. I maybe not have been super proud of that at the time, but I'm good with it now. I graduated back in 1982, opened a painting business, stayed in Orange for about 10 years, moved out to Santa Barbara, California because I wanted to get in IT. I spent 2 years doing odd jobs or whatever I could and knocking on doors till I got in with a really cutting edge network, business network company called CompuVision. Spent 10 years there learning my trade, worked my way from one of the first employees. When I left, I was a vice president of operations, trained a lot of engineers, moved to Virginia, pretty much tried to cookie cutter template what CompuVision did in Central Virginia. It took a lot of years to get the momentum going, but now 12 years later, I moved back in 2005. I've got a crew of about a dozen people. We've got specialists in pretty much everything, and the most recent addition is a kind of an implant, a transplant from Silicon Valley to here with a long background in ethical hacking, contracts with Microsoft, Cisco, developing multi-billion-dollar companies paying them to hack into their networks. So we're really proud of the team. And my assistant today, Philip Opoyan, is one of our steadfast employees, technicians working out of the Charlottesville shop. I'm proud of the team, and if we can ever help a small business, I'm not kidding when I say this, our focus is more on, as much on helping small businesses as it is to make a dollar. So don't be afraid. Churches, nonprofits, come to us, tell us your needs. We'll at least get you pointed in the right direction. So we're here as a resource.
Like the intro said, I'm Andrew Collins. I am one of the owners of Blue Ridge Ophthalmology. I'm certainly not an expert in IT. Probably in my office, I'm the resident expert in IT. At least know enough to have people turn their computer on and off again if it's not working. But out of full disclosure, I'm also a client of Phil's. I think we were your first client.
My first business network.
And we went from having a quote server, which is just a PC that had a thumb drive that wasn't actually backing up any data, before Phil, to a 3rd generation of servers. Anyway, anything I might have to say is probably more apropos to next time's talk. I don't know if I'll be here or not, but anyway, for HIPAA, as you all may have covered, there's a $50,000 fine for each HIPAA violation, so we take it seriously. We've been fortunately ahead of the curve on HIPAA compliance thanks to Phil and his experts in that, so I feel very comfortable with that. But obviously our security is of utmost importance. I'll give you to Kelly.
I'm Kelly Dye with First Citizens, and like they said, I'm the local business banker, so I'm dealing with a variety of local businesses. And we've seen it all on the fraud spectrum, everything from someone's debit card being skimmed at a local gas station to the folks wiring or emailing us, just asking us to wire out funds, which of course we do not do. But we have a variety as the attackers get more advanced, we're getting more advanced. We have a variety of tools now that can help protect you at a very low cost. People buy insurance every day, but a lot of times they're hesitant to buy these tools that they need to fully protect their business. But we're happy to work with anyone in the area to kind of educate them more about what can be done. Susan?
Susan McGinnis. I'm a branch manager at the Forest Lakes branch of First Citizens. And as Kelly said, we are very committed to working with our clients, and I would urge everyone to look to their banker as a resource person and to find out more about what resources are available, because even if there is a fee involved, it might be way cheaper than paying somebody to do the level of attention that the tools will help you bring to making sure all your checks are actually checks that you meant to go out and be paid and that sort of thing. Like Kelly said, fraud is on every kind of, from the most basic old-time fraud to the most advanced hacking into people's networks, having their emails hacked. We get emails that look like, I've had it happen to me where it looked like it was from my customer and it was his email address, but it wasn't him. And I picked up the phone and called, and that's usually what we do. So everyone really needs to be thinking about all this and before you click on the link and all that. So First Citizens Bank is a little bit different. We're the oldest the largest family-controlled bank in the country out of North Carolina. And we have a strong commitment to small business and practices. So please, if we can help you. End of commercial. Thank you.
And a quick plug for them. Susan had come up with a nice PowerPoint from First Citizens that unfortunately there wasn't enough time to fit into the whole presentation. So I helped her.
There's a couple of copies.
Right. So okay. So I helped her get it printed out, and I'm sure that it could be one of the materials that could be provided to email to people.
We might
maybe
talk about some of that. Yes,
yeah.
if you'd like to see it, pick up a card and I'll email it to you.
Yeah. The fascinating thing about it was it actually has pictures of what these skimmers are that they put over the slot for your card at an ATM or at a gas, I assume at a gas pump too.
Oh, yeah.
And it literally looks like the regular slider, but it goes over top of the slider and it reads your card. And until I'd looked at that, I didn't know what one would look like, and now I do.
We get pictures all the time, and thank you for the different kinds. And multiple times a day, every time, if I go out and I come back into the branch, I go around and I check the ATM. You know, we roll down the window and we pull on that plastic cover, because they make them, they know people's brand of machine and make specific plastic things.
Mimics.
Yeah, that look like it. It's crazy. So we check it, multiple times a day. And you just really have to be aware.
We'll be sending an email to everybody who's in attendance, or
Okay.
everyone who
Right
registered,
down.
so if you want, we can just email that along with that.
You're right.
Okay. So do you want to lead the question and answer session?
Sure.
Linda? Or?
Questions? Right, you gentlemen?
Sure. I just wanted to mention three really quick good points from your excellent presentation. The first is there's a growing class of ability to put malware on computers called a drive-by. You just have to visit a website. In order for that to install, there's no physical indication at all. So be careful the site you go to. But at the same time, if you're a business owner with a site, one of the things malware hackers want to do is put that on your site. So now you're responsible for infecting other people. Second thing is, if you really want to understand how important it is to realize just because it's not on the internet doesn't mean it's not hackable, is to think about Stuxnet. If you've ever heard that, that's the granddaddy. And that's infecting a network that was highly secure and not online, a so-called air-gapped site. And the third thing is, the coming apocalypse of the Internet of Things. Mika Hoponen just this week, who owns F-Secure, said, if it's electric, it's going to be on the internet. So those three things combined with the idea of defense in depth, putting more than one thing in place to make sure you're not hacked.
Yes, layered security, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, excellent points.
Oh, I just had a question for Susan about the cards. If you have a chip card though, you are not at such risk for scamming, whatever it's called, no, yes?
Not necessarily, just because your card may have the chip in it, not all readers are chip enabled. So for example,
Okay,
the majority of gas pumps, the majority of ATMs are not chip enabled. And there's other things that they're doing with the stuff they're attaching to the machinery. Some of it is a pinhole camera.
Yes.
And so they can actually copy the card number. The camera can also see what your PIN number is, and they can still recreate cards and get away with it for a short period of time. So they're not 100% proof at this time. Now, credit card fraud is dropping as a percentage of types of fraud, and the chip card is the main reason why it is dropping, but it's still a major issue, and major issue right in Charlottesville.
I have a quick question then.
Online.
I don't know if maybe I'm a little slow on technology. How does the chip cut down on the fraud? What's the mechanism that does
It's
that?
a dual
Magic.
backup control, you know.
Yeah, that one's above mine.
If
Okay.
you're gonna fake a card, you're not gonna be able to fake that chip.
Okay, so the
it's
card,
like-
okay, so the
yeah,
card and the
yeah.
stripe have to match each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that makes
It's
sense.
just an additional layer.
I just didn't know.
Online, I don't know how many of you, I just had, tried to use a credit card the other day online, and I got a text from a bank just right away. I have multiple bank accounts, and I know how
Yeah.
different people are doing stuff. They're all doing it now. Everybody, if you get irritated because your card doesn't work, or it sends you a text and it says, text me if this is you, it's because of that. The losses from the bank side are just horrendous.
I'd actually recommend that. I know on my personal cards, I have instructions set up at the card level. So if $50 or more is spent on that card, I get a text message. And
Set up your alerts
so I've set
on
it
your
like that on
online
purpose.
banking, yes.
So can you set up alerts that don't require a response, just an alert saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it
see?
just says, hey, it'll say you just spent, $51 at, Downtown Grill or something.
Okay.
As long as it was you, that's cool.
Right.
Sir.
There are a couple questions. I'll start with this one because it happened last Friday. I got an email from the head of a company I do business with. It looked very much like emails it typically sends, which is a link and no info. So that's just this person's style. And it was from his actual email address. So this is similar to spear phishing.
Yes.
But so I sent him an email back and said, hey, did you send this? And I actually got a reply, yes, I sent this. But it's still from that same email account. But the second time I clicked the link, it took me to a Microsoft Office site, but the web address was something different. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. I haven't called him yet.
It
Because I
sounds
felt
like
like I
somebody might have
emailed, but
compromised his
His
account.
email,
Yeah.
Right.
his
So
email.
Because usually if you hover over, even if it says his address, if you did you hover over it and verify?
yeah, it is his address.
Well,
yeah.
see, because there's no way to
He's
fake
been
that. It
hacked.
has to come,
He's been
he's been hacked.
We've
Right.
had this happen on multiple occasions, and it is coming from their email addresses, and the clients will go into their email system, they'll go into the trash, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, there's all these messages in the trash that were to me that I didn't read. They're intercepting their messages, putting them in the trash, especially anything bank related. And so we have seen that. And so what we do, we've set up procedures now, many years old at this point, because this has been going on for a while, is everything is dual verified by the phone with people you know their voice. It's a number we have on file, not using the number that was in the email, because they'll try that. They'll be like, I'm very busy, I need you to send this wire out. If you need to talk to me, I'm in a meeting today, here's my number. Yeah.
Well, the confusing thing was that the hotel website that came up was in Goa. We had been talking 2 months ago about a project that was in India. So
Yeah.
that
you
lays
think
another layer of
They read all of his emails, and so they can craft an email that sounds exactly
Yeah.
like what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and speaking of fraud, one of the screens that I had to breeze through very quickly at the end of the presentation was about a fraudulent, and it was one of the the only important one that I think I had to breeze through, was talking about how hackers will find out about real estate transactions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they will hack the account of the buyer or the seller. They'll hack an account related to the transaction, get information about the buyer, and then send bogus information, emails to the buyer about the trade, about the transaction, telling them this is where you need to send the funds to complete the transaction. And because it's about a legitimate purchase, about a home that they want to buy, the assumption is that it's real. Once again, when you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, it never hurts to pick up the phone and make that extra call.
And wires, especially, wires are, when the money's gone, it's gone. There are attorneys that I know of who now say, we will not email wire instructions, you have to come pick them up. Or they'll have some restriction on what they feel is a more secure way of delivering wire instructions other than email, because people have had their emails hacked.
Additional questions?
I've got a question myself, actually two questions for our bankers. I guess one is about what I would call probably low-level hacking. For example, I had a debit card that I think somebody just wrote the number down from the card and then called a store and purchased something. First question is, why are there numbers on the card at all, or why are all of the numbers there, not just say the last 4 of them? So people can't just look at your card, write the number down, and then make a transaction over the phone. The other question is about things like if you're selling on Craigslist, it's ridiculous how many people try to do fraudulent things. I've heard, I don't know for a fact, but it sounds like it's pretty easy to fake a bank check or a money order, that sort of thing, so I'd never accept that.
Well, I have to say, checks are such, when you give somebody a check, you are giving them so much information, the name, the address, the account numbers on the check, talk about, you know, the routing number. I have heard of payroll checks, people paying people for their payroll check for a large company that has a large payroll. If you're familiar with, more and more businesses are using direct debit for payroll. And that's part of the reason why. People getting paid for their paycheck, I'll give you more money than your paycheck so that I can have that check. Then I'm gonna go counterfeit it, and you have such a big, large payroll that you won't even notice what is bogus and what is not, which is back to bank products that can help you reconcile whether the checks that are going out are actually the checks that you wrote.
I think the check number, the credit card numbers thing is going back to the variety of systems that are legacy systems that are still out there. And I can see in the future where that is going away. For example, anymore, and Phil might weigh on if this is smart or not, but I'm a big fan of Apple Pay, and I just use Apple Pay at most places, and so the card never even leaves my wallet.
I taped across all the numbers but the last 4.
So smart.
What's going on? I'm like, all that matters is the stripe. You
That's
don't
right.
need the numbers.
Yeah. Right, CID on the back, you know, things you can do.
It was a holdover from the days
There
where
was a
they
gentleman earlier
embossed
who-
it.
there was a
Remember?
gentleman-
Yeah.
There was a gentleman earlier who came up during the break, was talking about medical equipment. Did you have a question that Dr. Collins might be able to weigh in on? You were talking about.
Well, I was interested on medical devices, how close that comes to the HIPAA law.
So his company sells medical devices.
My probably limited knowledge, but it has to do with its interfacing with your network and therefore probably internet. For example, we have, all of our computers are Windows 7, so they're compliant, and all of our equipment interfaces with that, and so I don't know that the equipment itself has to be unless it's networked. We have one machine that's Windows 2000, but it can't be updated, and it's not really
It's
on
disconnected from the
it's not on the network, it's not on the internet. So I don't know the answer to that, but my understanding, as long as it is not networked or interfacing with your network or the internet, I don't know that it has to be. I don't know the answer though, for
So
sure.
if you make note of that question, then I'll just say if you want to try to come to our July 11th, although he said that you can't come.
What he mentioned that he has, I don't think he has to worry about HIPAA. Because he's selling the type of things that are not internet connected, like some of the security things you have where you have a heart monitor or something. So I don't really think he needs to worry about HIPAA.
But if he's worried.
We'll double check. We
but he
have
may
a
be
HIPAA
worried
expert.
about- If he's selling a heart monitor, someone may be sending him their information.
No heart monitors, just disposal units for different products for.
So my experience with HIPAA would be if you required patient for example, let's say you were selling hearing aids, and in order to sell the right hearing aid, you had to have hearing test results for the person who's buying it, then you would have to have HIPAA compliance because you'd have medical data. But if you were selling generic hearing aids
Or
that were just,
wholesaling, just selling them out, wholesaling.
right, in that case, no, as long as you don't have patient data, then HIPAA compliance should not apply to you whatsoever. So I think maybe we put that with your rest.
Okay, good. Good. Yes.
This just suddenly struck me, but if you write a check, which used to be the old high-tech way of paying bills, and you're giving up everything, your account number, everything maybe, but your social security number, and everybody seems to want to put those on there too. I know 10, 15 people that got their card numbers scammed at Chipotle. One guy within 30 minutes had $785 in motorcycle parts and a really nice dinner charged in Florida at and he said he was quite happy that the guy at least took friends to a nice dinner. And you go through the hassle and get all back. Does it appear as though the only safe transaction method of financial transaction is cash? They can't hack your cash.
Until you run it, well, exactly, actually, there's a current case right now in Multnomah County where there are counterfeit hundreds going around, so. And then you could be robbed, so I don't know. I don't think there's 100% safe anything. Currently, all we can do is take measures to keep ourselves safe regardless of what method we're using.
Linda?
I have a question for Dr. Collins. I'm opening a speech, language, and occupational therapy practice. So it'll be HIPAA, we would need to be HIPAA compliant for that. We're looking at developing intake forms that are online to reduce paper and that sort of thing. Is that something that, it seems like it would be something that would put you more at risk, but what, in your experience, do you do paper intake forms or do you do online intake forms?
Yeah, we still do paper intake forms. We have kicked around the idea of doing it through the internet. If it is done that way, it's done through our software vendor. So I don't know the details of the compliance, but they're extremely on top of preserving, protecting data. Phil may know more than that, but we are not currently doing it. One of the reasons is we're just concerned about relying on patients to put their information in. They may misspell names or words or things, so we want to have more control, I suppose. But we're still doing paper for that.
And as far as your payment goes, do you do that also through your software program?
We do not.
Okay.
We just take it, credit card, cash, credit card number over the phone, maybe. But the software does have the ability to do it. We're not doing it through our software.
And is there a reason for that?
Because we're lazy.
Okay. I didn't know if it was
And it is, the banker says it is cheaper.
yeah.
Yeah, we just
Do you
make
do
it
it
slow.
through Stripe or Square or?
Swipe. It's just a regular credit card machine that we rent, I guess, from the bank. I don't know how that works, but you get some money out of that.
We process the transactions for this particular practice, and so we have what's called a merchant terminal and merchant system, which is fully compliant, and there's an annual audit of that equipment and a questionnaire that they fill out to ensure that they're handling cards in a compliant manner. They're not photocopying the card and putting it in the patient record. And
that's not okay.
And maybe a little more of an answer. More and more of the EMR and the EHR, the patient healthcare software, like they're using something called CompuLink, integrate just about every facet of data interaction into that one piece. So for example, the patient portal that you use to communicate to Dr. Collins or to any of his staff that would contain any medical information, even though they have their own email server, they never send patient data through an email. They do it through CompuLink, which then sends its own form of encrypted email. So a lot of the forms, the website, the meaningful use stuff is all handled by the very expensive but robust CompuLink.
And I will say, if patients email me directly to my email questions about their health care, and it's never sort of nitty-gritty like I have this weird disease when nobody know about, I assume there is consent to discuss stuff. I never discuss stuff in detail, but I'm assuming there's consent to sort of HIPAA compliance. So yeah, but your basic question is we haven't done all that stuff because we haven't. No particular reason why, but.
Good question over here.
Oh, I was just going to add, it's illegal to email somebody's social security for medical.
Along those lines, I've heard, because we take a lot of.
You can fax it, but you can't email.
We take a lot of Medicare patients, and as currently, it's still the social security number is the Medicare number. I've recently read that that's going to be changed. It's about time.
Chip.
Yeah, the chip in the neck is how they scan them.
Like our dogs.
Yes.
With a lot of data solutions moving to cloud-based stuff, I mean, the two that I'm using most frequently are Google Drive and Microsoft products, but they were on your list of companies that have been hacked. So how secure, I mean, what are some of the main things that you need to look at beyond just the password integrity?
It's a tough question because we're living in a world where one of the points that they were trying to hammer home in the original PowerPoint was that nothing's 100% secure. So, I mean, my goodness, when you hear about, voting machines getting hacked by Russians, and Target getting hacked, and Microsoft getting hacked, and Facebook getting hacked, and Twitter getting hacked, kind of like, where do you go to be safe? I'm still kind of old school where I'm server centric. I like walking into a client site where, like Blue Ridge Ophthalmology, here's my server, I can pound my fist on it, all of my data's there, I've got a business class industrial firewall between it and the rest of the world, so we know that your biggest risks are inside of that network, and he's got good, secure protocols. It's backing up to an encrypted cloud, so if somebody, even if somebody hacked the location where their data is going in the cloud, it's so encrypted, nobody will ever get it. So I think a lot of these hacks where data gets compromised is where it's getting stored in the cloud by organizations that are not encrypting it properly. So if I had to say one rule of the day is encryption, encryption, encryption. If somebody hacks, for example, there's an encryption level put on the server at Blue Ridge Ophthalmology that we implemented last year because, or 2 years ago, they got a new server. That's chip level encrypted so that the server will detect if it's been removed from its native environment. And even if somebody broke into the office and broke through the locked door because they're HIPAA compliant and stole that beefy server and took it home, pulled the hard drives out and stuck them in another machine to try to read them, they wouldn't be able to. And with a domain controller, there's no local accounts. So if you don't have the domain administrator account, there's no hacking it. So effectively, that is just it's a boat anchor. So the data that's there is encrypted. The data that goes to the cloud for backups is encrypted. The only risk he would have of any data going out, walking out the door would be as if an employee maliciously plugged a thumb drive into a computer, copied patient data to it, and then walked out the door. Because it would come off of the server unencrypted onto their thumb drive. And if we wanted to, we could turn on a group policy tomorrow that would say only one computer on the network's thumb drive will actually work. But right now he's got a good staff, he's got a usage policy, so it's good judgment. But in the cloud, I wish I could tell you I knew of one anything. I mean, if the federal government can get hacked, who can't, right? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to.
Hey, Phil, a friend of mine for years ran, I think it's called Nexet, an ISP. And when I was talking to him a couple months ago, he said it was amazing how he would come in just after 24 hours, come in the next morning at 6 a.m. after leaving at 6 p.m. And the number of brute force attacks that he would get, and he said you could almost, in his case, you could trace them back to the Chinese.
Yes.
Who are these people? And
they're not people.
I mean, they seem to be everywhere.
Right. So they're not people. They're people. So people put up what's a hacker bot. So you build a server. It can be a super beefy server. It can be a low end server. Some of them are very clever. The hackers, they write a utility that what it does is it replicates itself to multiple computers. So it's using processing power from hundreds or thousands of computers that it's infected that all troll the internet, every IP address in the world. And it's poking at the comm, like port 80 is for web access, port 443 is HTTPS, secure web access, 3389 is for remote desktop. So they troll the internet, billions of addresses, going, is this port open, is that port open, is that port open? And if it finds a handshake or an opening, then it does a little query and kind of asks, what kind of firewall is behind you? And if it gets the right answer, then it'll go, you're a weak target, and it'll start hammering away with a brute force attack. And if the passwords aren't complex enough, then it might eventually get through. Fortunately, technology on the good side of things, the white hats, have, for example, for WordPress websites. We've got a WordPress website, lots of our clients do. There's this nice little utility for 99 bucks a year called WordFence. A lot of people have heard about it. That does an incredibly wonderful job. And so I set up a website for a bunch of historic reenactors. They do Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, called the League of Most Interesting Gentlemen on a shoestring budget, and I made them get a $99 copy of WordFence, and I immediately said, we're blocking China, we're blocking Russia, we're blocking, I don't want the Russians not to be able to learn about American history, but you would be amazed when I go back and look at the reports, how many hundreds of blocked connections coming in from those countries have just been like, no, never mind. So there is security out there, but it's not people doing it, it's people writing up these hacker programs, and then it can be replicated to hundreds of computers, to a server farm. I mean, you can buy a used server off of eBay for $300 that's got the processing power that would beat most local businesses to the ground. And they can buy that, they could buy 10 of those and just be, and then like I said, when something really interesting comes up, then a human being will get involved. Maybe, like the banking alert, maybe the hacker gets a text alert that goes, boy, we've got a juicy bank in Idaho with very little security, and that's when the hacker will roll up his sleeves and go, I'm going to make some money. So But yeah, it's hard.
Just, don't laugh, but I'm just querying. I use McAfee. I'm going right back to, as a, on my computer. And then I have SpyBot. I mean, how well am I protected?
Well, then, now,
Don't laugh.
You did say don't laugh. I'm a professional in IT, so, and everybody, like every driver has their favorite cars, every food connoisseur has their favorite foods, every IT guy has their favorite programs. I may get sued for saying this, but I mean, I call McAfee McCrapathy. Not only is it one of the worst antiviruses I've ever seen, but it actually will crap. I can't tell you how many computers, and Philip will tell you, walk through the door of the computer, or I get phone calls from clients like, I know this isn't business related, but my computer's running really slow at home and my Windows updates won't work. And I'll like, well, what's your antivirus? And they go, McAfee or McAfee. And I'll go, well, do you have the license number so you can reinstall it? Yeah. Well, try uninstalling it and see if your Windows update works. 9 times out of 10, it fixes it. And then they'll go, well, what do I get? And I go, Viper Internet Security is awesome bang for the buck. Avast is great free. Bitdefender. I think McAfee, in my opinion, that just happens to be one of the worst choices.
What was
McAfee.
it you said? Big Defender?
Bitdefender, B-I-T.
Yeah, B-I-G?
B-I-T. Bitdefender is a good free one.
Yeah.
And if you want a great paid for one, Viper Internet Security is awesome.
Okay.
Is awesome.
Well, what about the SpyBot?
SpyBot is a good program. SpyBot is good for doing manual. It's like Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes is a good freebie that you can download off the internet to do like spyware cleanup. But for real-time by internet security, I personally use Viper Internet Security at home. It's really good.
And what does that cost, for example?
You can buy a household license where you can do like up to 10 computers for about $100. Or you can buy a standalone version for one computer for like $30 a year, but it's great.
That's the one you would recommend?
That's one I would recommend, and it does, if you buy the full Pro, like the best version, it does actual third-party updates. We talked about it in the presentation. Java, Adobe, it looks for all vulnerable software and updates them as well.
Automatically?
So yeah, so you can't beat that deal with a stick for a whole home.
For $100 a year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think get another question here, and then one back here.
Just a couple of comments. The gentleman mentioned the phishing that he got. One thing, and I think this was in the presentation also, if there's ever a question, call. I had a situation several months ago where I got an email from somebody who works for a client, which I do all the time, but I had never gotten an email from this person. First thing I did was pick up the phone and call the client and said, what about this? They said, yeah, her email's been hacked. So if there's a question, call. And then you mentioned the problem where you had attorneys that were concerned about sending the bank information. One of the things I've recommended to real estate attorneys, because there have been some real problems with the key loggers and attorneys accidentally having a transaction filtered over to Russia all of a sudden, is I recommend that people that either fax it or if they're going to send it by email, have it password protected and call the person, give them the password, and tell them don't accept anything other than this.
I'm sorry, Judge Collins, you?
Yeah, I actually have a question. So whether it's a standalone computer in a business or there's a network, but can you just speak briefly, for my information, if nothing else, about the difference or the benefits of not just having antivirus software, but having a firewall, and also in terms of how that might protect you against having ransomware where your network is hijacked, so you pay them in Bitcoin.
Sure. And now I owe you $5 for asking me that question. No, as we were talking, I was sitting here thinking about one of the things that was left out of the presentation, and I was trying very hard when I did my modifications to it to not make, I don't want this to be a PJ Network sales pitch. This is supposed to be for your benefit, not for mine. Just about every one of our business clients of any size with any kind of a budget to work with, and if you don't have an IT budget as a small company, as you grow, please put one aside, because there's some things you can do that will save you so much grief. One of the things we've started implementing, or we've been implementing for years at almost every client site of any size, is what's called a firewall with Unified Threat Management, UTM. Unified Threat Management, and there's products out there. Sophos makes them, Cyberome, WatchGuard, Cisco makes them, SonicWall makes them. SonicWall's been doing it probably about as long as anybody. We happen to like Sophos, CyberOhm, and Firebox is what we have at the Greene County Sheriff's Office. And what it is, it's a gateway antivirus because all traffic comes to and from that device. You can set up web filtering that will automatically block somebody from going to a bad website. So even if an email makes it through that's got a link that's going to a bad website, if you click on the link, it'll just block you and say, I'm sorry, but this is a known malicious website. They also allow you to screen out content that you don't want people going to. So if, for example, if you have a church, we have a number of churches as clients, and you know that they're never going to want to let anybody connected to the internet go to an adult website, then you just check off the box, no adult websites. And so it doesn't matter who it is or what it is, nobody there is ever going to go to an adult website and embarrass the church. And they also screen out viruses. They screen out downloads of certain types, like they block executables, they block JavaScript. So yeah, unified threat management, which you guys have a firebox. And if you think about it, I mean, knock on wood, but I mean, over the years, how many times have you guys really, I mean, maybe once a year we get a minor case of spyware that we have to clean up.
Yeah, I mean, Phil knows who I'm speaking about, who's no longer in my office for other reasons, but you know, somebody used to troll all the internet sites, I mean, all the Facebook, social media, and that just
MySpace.
pounded her computer with this stuff, so that's long since been blocked.
She's the reason you got it, I think. She's the reason you got the firebox, I think.
Probably by herself alone, yes.
Phil, does Viper, does that cover, for instance, what Malwarebytes does as well? Does it have a firewall?
Yes, so that's a good question. So Malwarebytes Professional, which is a really good product. Most people know about Malwarebytes in reference to the free version, which we use a lot. So we'll use it in tandem with whatever antivirus happens to be on the computer already, whether it's McAfee, whether it's Norton, whether it's Viper. So Malwarebytes, the free version, lets you run a manual scan, and it picks up stuff that's not viruses, but it's spyware. So what we found works great is using Malwarebytes, the free version, in combination with a paid antivirus, but there's certainly nothing wrong with doing the paid version of Malwarebytes. In fact, one of my employees swears by it. I've just always been particular to Viper because it gives you a good firewall, it gives you your software, your third-party software updates, it does bad website blocking, it does all kinds, it's just like, it's really wonderful. And if you have a home office, or maybe you've got a small office with 5 computers and then 3 computers at home, you buy the 10 user license for it online, and you've covered all 10 computers for $100 for a year, and it's just good. It's just good. But Malwarebytes, well, actually, Malwarebytes is a great thing to run above and beyond your regular antivirus, like once every month or two, just to clean out the goblins that collect in the corners.
Over here and then over there.
I have a question about wireless printing. Is that secure? Like, if you have your printer is not physically connected to your computer, but you're...
You know, God, I wish my network security engineer could be here to answer that one, because I haven't worked a lot with wireless printing. I think in the sense you're talking about, where now phones and computers can talk directly to a wireless printer. Most of my business career, whenever I've set up a wireless network printer, I connect it wirelessly to the access point, and then it's connected to the same backbone that all the other computers are, and then it's visible on the network as if it was plugged in. But some of the newer wireless printers will actually let you detect it directly from a phone or a computer, and I don't have much experience with those. So I mean, if you'd like to submit that question as an email, or maybe write it down and hand it to Linda, then I'll get an answer. But my security expert, I can almost guarantee you that my security network engineer, my new guy, would say, no, I can hack that. He's told me some horror stories about places that he's hacked. That, yeah.
What are the, and I don't know how you can make up this number or not, but you know, small business has to, you know, you got to be on Facebook, you got to be on Twitter, you gotta have that sort of exposure out there, and you have everything else you have to do online. What are the odds? Again, whatever kind of number you can come up with, that we're going to get smacked with some sort of assault, or you know, that you're actually going to get hacked. It seems like they're infinitesimal. The more you
well,
do.
According to Robert Mueller, there's 2 kinds of businesses. Those that have been those that will, yeah. I don't like to. I'm an optimist by nature. I'm a pretty upbeat guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just have to assume that you will be attacked. So we have a few statistics
Oh,
here.
good, yeah.
62% of businesses were targets of payment fraud.
And of them.
Right, of them, well, but the point I
That's
have
the
about
thing,
is that, yeah, 62% of them will be targets. Now, not 100% will be successful. So I think that's the big takeaway here is you do what you can to protect yourself. And yeah, you may get hit, but it won't be a big deal. You know, if you've done everything you can do to protect yourself, either you'll catch it, the bank will catch it, it'll be blocked. Just like the same reason we put a seatbelt on, because there's a high likelihood that we'll be in a car accident. So I think that's the takeaway is you got to put your information security seatbelt on every day, and it's just getting in that habit.
Our statistic was 62% of businesses were targets of payment fraud. Of the businesses experiencing fraud, 77% were tech fraud. So that's not high-tech problem. That's a very low-tech problem. And that's still maybe just paying attention to your most basic security needs, internal fraud, you know, having good dual control type of processes with your accounts and payments is really super important. Just normal caution, like Kelly was saying.
I have a banking question. So I'm a business owner. So if my bank account gets compromised through, and I'm not necessarily through anything I did wrong. I mean, maybe I have a complex password. What are the protections the banks offer for that? I mean, let's say somebody hacks it and takes all my money. I'm assuming that's 100% protected. If it was not due
through the bank's website or through
through a banking website.
Yeah, now if it's through our systems, like on our end, obviously someone actually makes it into the bank side of the systems and they picked your particular account.
Well, what if it was through something like Amazon? Let's say somebody hacked my Amazon account.
Then there's no guarantees.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it would probably fall back on Amazon.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the bank will not necessarily cover it.
Okay. And for understandable
A lot of people have that misconception that they think, oh, you know, I mean, credit card companies write off, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars a year.
Right.
The checking side and bank side of things is we write off a lot too, but it's not unlimited. So if if there's a lot of negligence on your end as the business owner and your money's gone, we're in no way responsible for replacing that.
And you can get breach insurance. And like our merchant services comes with a basic breach insurance, but you can also buy insurance to cover that type of thing. So that's a good thing. We don't have an insurance agent here, but
yeah, more and more of our clients are getting cybersecurity insurance.
Yeah.
There was a question about social media presence with businesses, and certainly, I mean, that's kind of the way the world's going. For us, for our medical office, I mean, I think we have a very high-tech network. We're very secure. We have a very low-tech internet presence, though. Some of that's because, again, I'm probably lazy. Some of it's because, based on our business and our demographic, we're not really shopping for the patients who are going to find us through Facebook. So I guess you have to ask yourself, do you need to have it? Just because it's out there, or you feel the pressure to, or do you not really need it? Probably more and more people do, but that's our take on it.
Yeah, because of the type of business, and you deal with a lot of Medicare, those people kind of seek you out, and you get a lot of referrals in. But if you were running, like we had a client who ran a jean shop, and so they lived and died off of Facebook. I mean, you know, they had a huge following that wouldn't have been driven to them if they didn't do it. But you guys have.
I mean, our referrals are coming because sort of mouth-to-mouth referrals mostly, and from other physicians. Although we do have some people just sort of find us via Google searches, for example. But yeah, we're a different business that way.
Additional questions?
You were mentioning to him about your cell phone, some type of protection for you.
Yes, I would definitely recommend that everybody using a mobile phone. I mismentioned the name of one of them, but Avast is good, A-V-A-S-T. I'm using Bitdefender, B-I-T, for my phone, Bitdefender. And then I know a number of people that use AVG. And you've got an iPhone, so mine's an Android phone. Yours is an iPhone, right? And what are you using anything? Because I understand iPhones are they're unhackable.
Will you be after today?
I'm typing in the name of one of these. Defender.
Would you weigh in a bit on that? I probably just have a small Mac at home.
Yeah.
Like,
Look out on his side.
yeah.
Phil, what do you say about the iPhone?
Well, where he's looking right now for a good. Philip, do you have a good record?
Look out.
Lookout. Something called Lookout. Okay.
I have a quick question for all of you. How many of you have an IT usage policy in your organization? Of those who have that, what kinds of steps are you taking to enforce that? Do you simply have it? Do your employees sign it? Do you follow up and check on it? Do they have to sign it more than once? What are you doing? Anyone willing to share?
Well, I can tell you for PCI compliance with credit card machines in the bank, you have to do it every year. You have to have them sign it, and you're supposed to review it. It signs up.
If you want to hear something that sounds kind of cheesy, being a high-tech company, we actually still use dial-up credit card swipers, because when you go to do the PCI compliance form online, and it asks you what kind of how do your credit card swipers connect to the internet, and if you click dial-up, you have like a 7-question, and then you're done. And if you say I'm connecting to the internet, it's 7 pages of questions.
Yeah.
And what level of security do you have? So honestly, just for convenience sake, even though we're a technology company, it's like, because let's face it, people aren't hacking your phone line and decrypting your dial tone, right? It's like.
Speaking of capitalism and the internet.
Yes.
Square, which
Yes.
I think is a revolution if you're trying to sell what you make in your basement at a craft fair or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that just as secure as the person who's running that little booth who's using that square?
It certainly means that, and that there's so much content on that, and it's a debate going on, but the problem is the square plugs into a cell phone.
Yeah.
If the cell phone's been compromised, then it's been compromised. So it's like really the same safeguards kind of need to be put into place. For example, if I was a merchant running Square, I would probably buy a cell phone, buy an extra company cell phone, add it to my Verizon account for $20 a month, and have it dedicated to nothing but Square, and not install any other applications.
Yeah,
and then you're pretty safe. But I mean, as soon as you start downloading this free app to tell you how many miles you walked today and how many calories you ate, and now it's time to use the bathroom.
Flashlight.
Yeah, flashlight. Then at that point, who knows what extra little line of code got into one of those free programs that said, oh, by the way, if there's a Square plugged in and somebody swipes it, do me a favor, tell me what the credit card number is. So yeah.
Phil, one of the problems we had with our credit card thing and doing dial-up, because we were dial-up, and then this past year we went to, well, some of the information wouldn't get uploaded to the merchant. So we went to the wireless, and of course, when we got to the PCI, whatever it is, Ray had to come out and do it for us because I didn't know the answers to the questions. But there's the problem, the dial-up and the wireless, which works better.
I have not, I mean, that's the first instance I've heard of where the dial-up did not fully transmit the data. So that would be something about that specific data system, and maybe the side that was
The phone line.
the phone, or it could be static on the phone line. Actually,
Experiencing more of that.
Currently you think it's dial-up, but it's not. It's going over the optic cables. I don't understand.
okay, so it doesn't stay true analog the whole
Yes,
time.
yes.
It's switching. Okay, that makes sense.
I don't want to take up more of your time than we promised to take up, so I'm going to cut it off at this point. I will remind you, please fill out the evaluation for us, and if you will also fill out that training profile, it's very, very helpful to us. If this is something that you really benefited from and would like to see us do more often, please make that comment on your evaluation. Either that you would like to see it more often, or that you would like to see it longer, or whatever, or we should not do it again, or whatever your opinion is. While you're doing it, once you get those filled out, you can just leave them on this front table up here. That will be, again, very helpful to us. We will be sending everyone who registered for this event several documents, as we mentioned before. Please check our website, the workshops, for more information for upcoming events. Because you registered for this, you will also be receiving our monthly newsletters, which always have some information about what's coming up. As is required, if you don't want to get our newsletters, you can unsubscribe to any of them. So while you're doing that, I'll just ask you also to please help me thank our subject matter experts who came and interacted with us. Certainly thanking PJ Networks and First Citizens Bank for helping to co-sponsor and make this event available, and especially First Citizens Bank for providing a free lunch for us.
Sue doesn't want to take the kids home.
And I'd also like to quickly thank Linda Tuberty, who is the events coordinator for the Small Business Development Center. She has done most of the work to pull this together. She's already working, pulling in subject matter experts for our future 2 events. You will be getting more information about those, but please help me thank Linda for all of her work.